speak up here, yeah. Okay, so good afternoon, or I guess lunchtime, but my name is Katie Clark, and I am the press secretary for the Nova Scotia Liberal Caucus office, and so I'll keep this very brief, but thanks for coming today. It's a very special day because later today, the Honourable Keith Irving will be tabling a bill called Harvey's Law, and he'll be speaking more on that right now, so I'll just do some introductions. Right here we have King South MLA Keith Irving. We have Allison Brewer, who is a board member of the Halifax NS Down Syndrome Society, and his reputation precedes him. We also have Will Brewer, who is also a board member of the Halifax, Nova Scotia Down Syndrome Society and the Halifax Town Crier. And I also want to recognize here in the crowd we have Kim Hanko, who is a co-chair and secretary of the Halifax, Nova Scotia Down Syndrome Society as well. So without further ado, take it away, Keith. Will be available for media afterwards.
Well, thank you very much, and welcome to the Nova Scotia Legislature, Will and Allison, and thanks everyone for coming, Kim as well, and just a quick acknowledgement to some of my colleagues that have joined us here, Rafa Di Costanza, Ben Jessam, Ronnie LeBlanc, Brandon Clark, Kendrick Coombs is here, and thank you all for joining us here today. In a few minutes, it will be my honor to introduce a bill long overdue and most worthy of our commitment to equity and inclusion, an act respecting Down syndrome. It's my privilege to introduce this bill on behalf of our Nova Scotia citizens with Down syndrome and their families, and I want to thank those families that have joined us here today. I'm also honored that Halifax resident Will Brewer, who has made history as becoming Halifax's very own town crier, along with his mom Allison, are here to join me today for the introduction of this bill. The Canadian Down Syndrome Society describes Down syndrome as a naturally occurring chromosomal arrangement that has always existed and is universal across racial, gender, and social economic lines. Down syndrome is associated with chromosome 21 and one in every 781 babies born in Canada has Down syndrome. People with Down syndrome accomplish extraordinary things every day, and we all play a role in recognizing and valuing their contributions. Ensuring that the tools and language of government that we use with Down syndrome are updated and readily available is part of our responsibility as legislators. Our inclusive values must be reflected in our literature and services supporting Down syndrome individuals and their families. The approaches we use with families who've received prenatal diagnosis of Down syndrome needs to be supportive, current, and inclusive in tone. It's important that we have correct and current information to assist our medical professionals who are often called upon to provide important advice to expectant parents who receive a prenatal diagnosis. The terminology we use in government literature and as service providers must be current and correct. In Nova Scotia, for parents who receive a prenatal diagnosis, the 811 resources are outdated and not reflective of what we know today about Down syndrome, nor does it have the language which is balanced and inclusive. We can and we must do better. The passing of this bill will enable this. It will ensure that work is regularly undertaken with our provincial associations and our Canadian partners in the Down syndrome community to refresh that information and guidelines that supports the Down syndrome community. Now, the timing of this bill is inspired by Harvey, a wonderful 4-year-old boy Kings County, who I came to know this past year. His energy, smile, and passion for life is infectious. It was Harvey's parents, Ian and Sarah. Sarah is my constituency assistant, who brought to my attention the work that is needed by governments across Canada to update their language. I'm sorry. Sarah's back watching this on Facebook, is in tears. I wasn't supposed to do that. It was Harvey's parents, Sarah and Ian, who brought to my attention the work that's needed by governments across Canada to update their language around and the approaches to Down syndrome citizens. For this reason, this bill will be known as Harvey's Law. Excuse me. In addition to fostering consultations and up-to-date information and resources on Down syndrome, the passing of this bill will also enshrine March 21st as Down Syndrome Day in the province of Nova Scotia. This is a simple bill with far-reaching and transformative implications that will put Nova Scotia at the forefront of inclusive, forward-thinking provinces. I want to personally thank Harvey and his parents, Sarah and Ian, for making me aware of this issue and the need for change. The result is here today, Harvey's Law. Thank you very much.
Oh, I guess I can take my mask off. Great. As I said, I'm Allison Brewer, also known as Will Mother. And first I'd like to acknowledge that Adam Bald just arrived with his mom, Debbie. And so they are both very valuable members of our community, as is Kim. Yes, I wanted to tell just a bit of a personal story and why this means a lot to me. I was pregnant with Will when I was 31 years old and really healthy and not a care in the world. And so I didn't have to do any kind of prenatal testing, no ultrasound, nothing. And which I'm glad I didn't have. If I'd had ultrasound, it probably would have revealed a somewhat compromised fetus with 2 fairly significant holes in his heart. And possibly further investigation would have revealed he had Down syndrome. And I didn't know any of that until he was born. And I'm so glad I didn't. 35 years ago, although it's not changed a lot, we were given a lot of misinformation about Down syndrome. For instance, when Will was born, it was treated as a tragedy. And I was given my own room in the maternity ward and all of that, which I didn't really understand until I left, that I'd been treated special because I had, given birth to a tragedy. And there was, even after he was born, there was very little information. I was told he wouldn't walk, likely wouldn't talk, would be compromised in so many ways. But I often tell him that I didn't give him much hope when he was born. He was born no hair, no teeth, couldn't walk or talk. And boy, did he ever catch up real fast. So he survived childhood, he survived me. He survived a school system, which was on and off supportive. He survived a lot of things and went on to become just this amazing young man. I guess all our boys and girls are amazing, but Will just seemed to do a lot for what he had been given, or what I had been told he had been given, because he was given a whole lot more than I ever would have imagined. He grew up to be, he's an actor. He's a poet, he's a public speaker, he's past chair of president of the Mount St. Vincent University Student Union, where he's also a student studying politics and women's studies and different things. He sits on the Down syndrome, the Halifax NS Down syndrome committee. He's been, oh God, I could go on and on. I think only 5 minutes, not 5 hours, but he's spoken both nationally, internationally, and as you know, a few years ago became the first town crier possibly in the world, certainly in Canada, with Down syndrome, and was later made an honorary member of the Ontario Town Criers Guild, based on his being such a role model. And so I'm not going to go on and on about it, but this bill is so important. And it's really, really important that, that parents-to-be understand, have all the facts. And this is not about a woman's right to choose. I feel passionately about that. But the right to choose should come loaded with a whole lot of information and not a whole lot of misinformation. And I have to say that once I leave here today, I'm going to get to work right away on the Nova Scotia Health Department's description of Down syndrome, and it's rather outdated information. And armed with this bill, I think it'll give us some teeth to move that forward. So now I'm going to, I'm speaking first because no one ever wants to follow Will, and hard enough to follow Keith. So anyway, I am going to pass the microphone on to him and let you see for yourself just what an amazing young man he is.
Thank you, everyone. I am so thrilled to be here today. I just got a little emotional earlier when I heard that this Harvey's bill that is going to actually happen. So I'm still relieved by all of that. And I want to thank Mr. Irving himself to, lo and behold, do the proclamation of this bill. So I'm really happy that this is happening. Also, like my mom, hopefully one day I will myself be a MLA, hopefully, so I'm hoping to job shadow at some point. And of course, I like this, there are a lot of trailblazers, and of course there are a lot in this room, like Keith Irving himself, but also my grandmother. She passed away 2 years ago. She was an honorary trailblazer as well. Now, I'm getting a little emotional because, I mean, 2 years we lost her, but of course, I'm fulfilling the gap of being her honorary grandson, so. I'm going to stop there because I could bawl any minute now, but I'm not going to. But I'm really thrilled that I've also, a few years ago, I actually got a human rights award as well with the group Bill 59 Alliance, which they asked me, along who Jerry Post asked me to come in to, sorry, I thought I heard a tent crier. Who asked me to be on this bill to describe what Down syndrome means to the Bill 59 Alliance. So I want to thank you for letting me speak today, and thank you, Harvey.
Thank you very much, Will and Allison. Thank you so much for being here and adding so much to what this bill is about. And those are important stories to share with Nova Scotians, and I'm hopeful that this bill really elevates the conversation that we can do better here in Nova Scotia. And you know, all I can say is that someone like Will and young Harvey, who has inspired me, are just incredible citizens of this province, and we're so grateful for you, for being you. And Harvey is perfect. Thank you very much.
So we'll take media questions from the floor now, and just a reminder that the bill itself is embargoed until 1 when Keith tables it later. So we want to start with you, Mike. Mike with Gorman with CBC.
because we're all given a right to choose. And quite frankly, if I had known when I was pregnant with Will, I really, based on the information that I had at the time, I still don't know what I would have done. And Will was very much a wanted child. And but the information was so grim. Even when, after he was born, it was told that one of the most difficult choices a new parent with Down syndrome would be whether or not to put them in an institution. I'm talking 35 years ago. That's not really that long. And because I didn't know Will had Down syndrome, I was armed with, I guess, more information than I would have had if I had known he was a Down syndrome fetus. But I was expecting, you know, like every parent, I was going to have a happy, healthy child, and I did, despite what the books said and what the doctors said at the time.
And what do you think about the fact that 35 years later, the language is still apparently out of date and not reflective of reality?
Partly, I think, because I'm not doing my job as a parent, and I was going to, you know, bring Will out, and we've got, you know, Adam and Jessica, who they aren't here, but we do as much as we can to present the community with the facts just through their person, and but I think government needs to really step up, because as parents and as volunteers, we don't have the resources, and we don't have enough people really to get this going, or enough political clout. I'll be very interested to see how the health department responds to the request of the Halifax NS Down Syndrome Society to update their webpage. That really depends. There's a process called amniocentesis, and there are probably newer ones now where you can detect fetal anomalies, and so early on or even later. And I know friends of mine who have been given the choice at 5-6 months, and so.
So do you think the system, in your day,
Yes, definitely a burden, and unlike other children. That was the word. One time, Will and I were it was Saturday morning, we were reading the Globe and Mail, and he reads and writes and everything. And there was an article about a woman who suffered from Down syndrome. And I said, the only person in this house who suffers from Down syndrome is me. So.
Which also, that the article did mention is that suffering from Down syndrome with the fact that the woman also had memory loss as well, or what is it called, Mom? Or
I think dementia.
yeah. But
Again,
also,
unlike other people.
also being the representative at MSVU, at the student union, that being the accessibility rep, I'm actually talking in the planning to talk to Ramona Lumpkin about having, rather than just the word institution at the school, it's more academic. So I think that we should at least update their wording of the institution itself. I know so far the word can be anything, but to me, this school is more academic than it is a institution itself. So I will be talking to Ramona Lumpkin after looking at a lot of research that I will be adding the term academic institution rather than the institution itself.
Yes, it's a bit of a, I guess I could say, a triggering word, institution, these days.
Alice, I'm still having trouble figuring out the loggerheads you are at with the health department. Surely you've been broaching this issue for at least a number of years. What are you being told by them in terms of?
Oh, nothing. That's why I say I haven't been doing my job as a parent. I only read it yesterday. That's the first time I've ever read the information on the website, and it's quite outdated. And there's a, I don't know. It's very much disease-driven, as if Down syndrome is a disease, and it's not a disease. It's not a disability. As I always say, it's a culture, and it's spread throughout the world through all cultures, and all languages and all colors, and they're really it's throughout the world.
So are new parents
I think there's been a certain amount of headway made, and but really it's the luck of the draw. It depends on where you are. Some places are more advanced than others. I expect here in Halifax, with that wonderful institution, the IWK, that parents are getting fairly good information, and the Down Syndrome Society has provided them with quite a bit. And we've also gone and spoken to people and at the IWK, and I think it's getting better, but it's not universal yet.
Is this what it needs to be universal? I guess, Allison, sorry, this bill, is this what you need to kind of have that universal? Is this going to be a major?
I think what it does is it gives some weight behind us. It gives us a banner to go forward with, and one of the things, parts of the bill that's really important is that it includes March 21st, which is Down Syndrome Day, 321, and we've celebrated it for years and really celebrated our children and our friends and our relatives and
Our chromosome.
your chromosome.
Exactly.
So this will give us more opportunity to, I guess, for Will and his friends to toot their own horns. And it's got, like I said, it's got that weight behind it. We will have that weight behind it, behind us when we move forward.
Yeah, if I may, I mean, this puts this information as a requirement of law. That's weight for the Down syndrome community. It's not just, trying to educate everyone in the medical community and in our society. It's putting into law that this information has to be accurate and it has to be up to date.
Yes, and with the weight of the act, I say it gives us a lot more power behind us, and but it's an act. It's not a regulation or a policy buried somewhere in the books somewhere deep in the legislature. This is right out front, where it should be.
Any more questions?
Yeah. So I assume the information is similarly outdated throughout the country as other legislators? To my knowledge, this was modeled off a bill that was introduced in Ontario. It got as far as first reading. It has not been adopted to my knowledge. That's the only legislation that I'm aware of. I didn't do a full scan across the country, but it came from an initiative in Ontario that I thought we could bring here. So some liberal bills in this session have gotten as far as first reading. Well, we will put this on the floor of the House and hopefully work with government to move it forward. They can consider it between now and the next session and bring in their own bill if they feel that's necessary. But this is an important bill. It shouldn't be about partisan issues. This is about people and our Down syndrome community, our Down syndrome Nova Scotians. This is about Nova Scotia families that face those moments with a piece of news during a pregnancy that is, I'm sure, very overwhelming. And so this is important. I honestly believe this, and I hope all three parties would support this bill.
And speaking of the bill, I have a friend. I have a friend who I actually was involved with at the Canadian Down Syndrome Society. She also announced a bill in her as well, her home. I think it's in PEI. I think. Yeah. So I just want to mention Janet Charchuk. That's what I was trying to look for at this moment. So that's because I know there was she announced a bill with her guy as well. So.
Yes, and I was going to say, he says it's non-partisan. Will's wearing a red tie today, but he's also been known to wear a blue tie, an orange tie, and even a green tie, depending on the occasion.
It's for Remembrance Day.
Yeah, so this isn't about politics. This is about access to accurate information about Down syndrome, and
And the Guild of Town Criers.
and the Guild of Down Criers, yes. Yes, so it's, there shouldn't be anything partisan about it, and well, maybe this is kind of political, but I hope that the other parties don't tear it apart and make it a policy or regulation and water it down beyond this amazing piece of paper that we've been presented with today.
Any more questions?
Any for Will?
We're all good? Okay.
Great.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.